Hey, what's going on, listeners and viewers of the Fantasy Flavor podcast and YouTube channel? We've taken a long break and we're back. We don't want to make promises on content yet, as we haven't really discussed it ourselves, but we wanted to give our fan league some love and attention here. Isn't that safe to say? So, guys, how did our first year of our fan league go?
It went great for us. We won the league, so obviously it went great for us. And there was a lot of activity in the beginning. It went down a little bit later, but
Hmm.
overall, no complaints. It was a great year.
For
People
sure.
were excited. There were a lot of co-owners, so a lot of mingling. It was great.
I think there was a total of, I want to say, we had a 14 team league,
Mm.
and there was like 20 or some 20 plus
Yeah,
owners. Like we had so many
25.
people bring their friends in, so many people co-owning. We had
Mm.
lots of people, lots of activity early. Like you said, it did kind of dwindle, but it was a really fun first year, really fun start, and I can't wait to see where we go with it.
Yeah, I can't wait to see where we go with it either. So we're going to kind of talk about each team, maybe an off-season preview, maybe not. It's gonna be really exciting. So we're gonna start off with the team. Here's the draft order. So obviously we won, so we're at the end, and then it went like this. And the first team is the Wahoo Four. And who's the other co-owner?
He co-owned with VC Vandal.
Thank you very much. So
You're welcome.
on the web version we can't see where the picks are, so I'll just name off how many picks we have, and then one of the other guys will tell you where they are. So this team obviously finished last. Congratulations! I feel like we should do a round of applause for tanking for Trevor correctly. Unlike the Jets.
Better than Jets. Yeah.
So
Congratulations, you're not the Jets.
Jette. So this team has some interesting names. I'm going to kind of go over the noticeable ones. I think Brandon Ayuk and Clyde are a really good base. Calvin Ridley too. Baker's a decent quarterback. Kind of surprising with those names that I feel like you have a really good base there. Noah Fant's on the team. Colt Komet. Ingram,
Evan Ingram.
Pro
Yeah.
Bowler.
And it's a Titan Premium League, so.
Yeah, it's Superflex tight end premium. AJ Dillon, he looked really good. Keyshawn Vaughn. Who else do we got here? Vance McDonald. Trenton's
Yeah.
guy, Devin Asiasi. And Jimmy G got injured, and Josh Oliver. As for picks, they have 3 firsts. The second, which is probably the 201, and their
Yeah.
fourth round pick in this draft. And they have 2 firsts next year, and pretty much all standard picks going throughout. So, Trenton, where are those picks at?
And those picks lie at the 101, which is their own pick. They also have Link Marine's pick at 106 and Wu Tang Forever pick at 113.
So really spread out picks there. If this was a snake draft, he'd be loving it. But no snake draft here. Definitely. Well, I can definitely assume that this team will take Trevor. Probably a wide receiver at 106, and then maybe another wide receiver, running back, quarterback, tight end, whatever is there at 113. That'd be. Although Kyle Pitts could go in that range too in the middle of the draft. So we'll see.
I think they
Mhm.
already have tight end covered, and I think their main needs are quarterback and to some extent running back. That Yeah, and wide receivers too. So I definitely think they
Mhm.
should hit with that 106. They should definitely hit a running back there, and then for the other picks, they should go for the wide receiver because it's a deep class, right?
Yeah.
I think this team has a very bright future. Sure, they finished dead last in the league, but I believe these two co-owners, they know what they're doing. They have 3 firsts, and they have. You look at their roster; they have a ton of young talent, young potential.
Mm.
They weren't out there grabbing just veterans and throwing picks here and there and doing stuff. They're just trying to win, and they ended up failing and miserably. They actually have a plan. They have picks. They have youth. They know where they're going in the future. So I
Yeah.
like that about them.
Yeah, that's really well said. And they also have Jalen Rager, who I forgot to mention. So I just wanted to
Yeah.
throw that in. You could see that if you're
Three
watching on
young,
YouTube.
three young wide receivers: Rager, Ayuk, and Ridley.
Yeah.
Very good core.
Here's what I'd do if
That's a
I was
good young team.
this team, honestly. I think the question depends on Zach Wilson, who's maybe like the second, third quarterback prospect. I think it depends on where people value him, because I see 3 really good running backs, and then there's 3 obviously quarterbacks. So maybe with this 113, you could try to trade up with the 106 and maybe land like a 103 or 102 here, who's owned by one of our other owners we're going to do soon, and maybe try to get a stud running back and Trevor Lawrence. And then I think this team could actually really do well with Noah Fant maybe taking a step, Cole Kmet taking a step. He got hot at the end of the season. That's an option too. You could also sell the 201. Maybe it only takes the 201 and the 106 to move up to get maybe Travis Etienne at 104. And then you can take a wide receiver here or here. So I think this team should try to move up to make sure they can grab the running back that's best for their roster. Do you guys agree with that, or?
No, I don't.
Really? Okay.
They have holes. I would not trade more, and I would rather, if at all, I would rather trade one pick into 2 or 3, and do that way for this roster. And there is no slam dunk RB in this class that I have to have. So 106 Javonte Williams might be there for sure, I think, or someone else. I mean, let's see what happens in NFL draft. And I think they can get Trevor Lawrence, obviously. And then for a running back and wide receiver, they have 3 picks, like 106, 113, and 201. I think those 3 picks, they can have 1 running back and 2 wide receivers, or maybe 1 running back, 1 QB, and 1 wide receiver if QB falls. So yeah, they have options.
And like you said, it's a team. It's a young team with the picks. You don't want to try to trade those up. You want to use those picks. You need talent everywhere. You need an injection of talent. It's like in the NFL, you look at all these teams in the draft. They don't trade up for needs. They don't trade up for that. They trade up for talent. They'll trade up for talent, or you always hear talent over need. And you could have a guy ranked like 2 rounds later at a position of need, or you could have a guy ranked that was supposed to go at the end of the first round, and you're sitting there in the middle of the second as an NFL team. And you're going to take that guy that was supposed to go in the first round because the talent is much better than the need. So keep those picks, go with the talent. Don't worry about what you need. Just fill up your roster, and you can trade players later and acquire what you need if you have to.
Yeah, I sort of agree. I think running back really isn't the best looking forward into the future. We kind of got spoiled with last draft. So I guess if you could trade the pick for a running back too, that's another option. But I definitely think you need another running back. Like I get the point of like BPA, and I agree with that for the real NFL. But you also do that because I think there's more risk with it. Like there's kind of less stakes with fantasy football. We're not going to get fired or anything too. And there are some really good running backs in this class too. There's some guys who could end up being pretty good. So just think about it. There's options. If you listen to the pod, maybe you can hear what we have to say more about those type of players. So
yeah.
Next up, we have Shahid. Yay. And who's the co-owner on this team?
Tipsy Tiger.
Tipsy Tiger. I like it. And as we can see over here at the draft, they don't own their first. And we'll get into a little bit about that in a second.
Neither the second. They don't have their first or second.
Yeah.
Only third and fourth.
In either of these next 2 drafts.
Yeah, so they have a third, a fourth, and then they have all their picks in 2023. Mainly probably because Snowden wouldn't let anyone trade them. Which, speaking of, I believe this means they can maybe start shipping off those picks soon.
After the rookie draft, yes.
After the rookie draft, so they can't do it during the rookie draft. Hear that if you're listening? Good to know. So anyways, this team for actual players has some really good names. Zach Moss, obviously, if you're a fan of certain Pittsburgh Steelers fan on Twitter. Better than Joe Mixon, better than Alvin Kamara, better than Barry Sanders. So you've won. Obviously, jokes aside, you do have Deshaun Watson, Nick Chubb, Michael Thomas. That's a really good trio right there.
Christian McCaffrey. They also have Christian McCaffrey.
Mm-hmm.
I was saving the fire.
That's what killed their team this year.
Yeah.
If McCaffrey would have been healthy through the season, Thomas would have been healthy through the season,
Yeah.
and Chubb would have been healthy through the season. This was a top 3 team.
Well,
Yeah.
sort
You
of.
have that insane core. I don't. I mean, you have that core set. It does
Mhm.
suck for them. I will say it does suck that they don't have their picks, but your core is there. You also have guys like Pittman. You have Cullen Johnson. You have Jarvis Landry, who is having a really good year.
Mhm.
He has the talent, and like you said, Deshaun Watson. You have your core of players. It was the injury bug that bit them this year.
Yeah,
That's
but they're very
what really
concentrated
cost them.
players. They are very concentrated players. So if 1 or 2 injuries, they cannot overcome that.
Yeah.
So
That is the issue.
To correct kind of what you were saying, though, I believe he acquired Christian McCaffrey mid-season for a trade from
Yeah.
Draft Director. So I don't know what his record was before that. So I'm pretty sure he traded for CMC while he was injured. So
Yeah.
I mean, the wide receivers after Michael Thomas and obviously Jarvis Landry too are kind of sus. Quarterbacks, I think Sam Darnold and Jameis Winston. Those guys are actually really big for this team because the depth isn't the best, so you really probably want to put a quarterback in that super flex spot. Does Sam Darnold just get perma-benched? Does he get traded? Does he get traded and started? You know, same with Jameis. Does he land a gig somewhere?
Yeah.
You know, maybe Drew Brees retires, and they love Taysom Hill too much. So obviously not. You have Salvon Ahmed, who showed some promise for Miami, but Brian Edwards, fantasy Twitter love. So
Yeah. And they have 3rd and 4th. So who knows? Like
yeah,
last year, Jordan Love and Hurts were going in 3rd round of Superflex. So they might take a stab. If I were them, I would take a stab at a QB and
yeah.
just, fingers crossed.
Even take a stab at QB twice. Like if there's
Yeah.
a QB in the
Or
3rd
tight
and 4th,
end.
use both of them on
Or
QB.
tight end also.
Yeah.
Or tight end.
I wouldn't hate going wide receiver either. They're just kind of with their team. They could also use a wide up too. And obviously, I think before being like, I need to take a QB in the 3rd, see what happens with Sam Darnold, because maybe they don't like Justin Fields and maybe they trade down and get him some weapons and Gase is gone. So a lot of people are really high on Sam Darnold for how bad he's been, honestly, in the NFL. There's a lot of people who really think Sam Darnold could be a franchise guy. So you can use that to your advantage in selling him after he gets
Yeah, there are
moved.
rumors that Shanahan might be interested in Darnold, and there are rumors that some other teams might be interested in him.
That'd
I
be
think
a really good
he'll
fit.
have a market.
This is a team that has like going back though. This is one of those teams that has two top 10 dynasty running backs and a top 5 dynasty wide receiver.
Mhm.
I mean, so they have I mean,
top
sure, it
3
is top heavy.
dynasty QB.
It is top heavy, and a top 3 QB. It is top heavy, but I mean that amount of top heaviness that they have with those names,
Yeah.
if they can stay healthy for the season, that will push them over. I mean, just those names alone, they don't need anybody. They could bench the rest of their roster, play 4 guys each week, and they could probably still win at least 5 games. I mean, that's how top heavy this roster is.
Very top heavy. I mean, I would sort of disagree with our team wasn't as top heavy, especially like looking in like before the season. Obviously, I remember we traded down a crap ton, and that's something I really wanted to try in our league, and we won it. So I think it is a strategy for my top heavy leagues. It did work out for me. I actually had a league with Chubb and CMC, but I had a whole bunch of nice depth pieces like Mike Davis, J.D. McKissick, Nelson and Aguilar, guys who aren't sexy, right? But they are actually putting up points for that time of stretch. So I think the team is going to kind of be dependent on if an injury occurs, do they have those guys on the roster? And obviously these names like Colin Johnson, like I wouldn't be betting my money. So maybe try to trade down on Nick Chubb. Maybe there's a lot of really good Nick Chubb truthers out there. Maybe you could get like a Gibson and something.
I agree.
You know,
I agree.
I'd see what you could get for CMC. I don't think it'd hurt. I'm not saying trade CMC, but you know, he is like probably the 101 in most leagues.
Chubb, I definitely would trade down, as Dylan said. If you can get Gibson plus, oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, definitely. We're gonna move on here to our 3rd team. I think it's safe to say N'Keal Harry's only fan. Very true.
Good.
I think to highlight this team, you should talk about the picks first. So he has
Oh yeah,
1, 2, 3, 4 firsts. I believe 4 firsts.
yeah, 4 first. Yeah,
1, 2,
5
3, 4,
seconds.
5 seconds, 2 thirds, 3 fourths. The thirds and fourths, since it's a 14-team league, I don't put too much stock into those because
it's a deep class though.
it's a deep class and there could be some hits, but
And then moving on to 2022, he has a first, 3 seconds, 3 or 4 thirds, and 2 fourths in that season.
yeah.
And his
So I mean, this is the most stacked amount of picks I have seen
Yeah.
in a while.
Yeah.
I mean,
and then
that's a
in this
crazy.
class,
I mean,
in this year's um, draft, he has like 102, 103, and
Mhm.
105. That's just
He does.
crazy.
He has the 102, 103, 105, and 111.
Yeah,
Then he has the 203, 204, 209, 212, 213. And then the thirds and fourths, I won't get into that because those
Yeah.
don't matter quite as much.
he can rebuild
But-
very, very well. I mean, he has a couple of good pieces like Swift and Jalen Hurts and DJ Chark. Those are 3 good pieces.
Absolutely.
And rest and DJ Moore. Yeah, he also has DJ Moore. So 4 good pieces and rest all are like meh. But he has lot of
Mhm.
draft capital in such a good class where he needs QBs, he needs wide receivers, and probably 1 running back, and he'll be set.
I wouldn't be surprised if this team was contending one of the top teams next season, just based off of how much talent he should be injecting this offseason alone.
Usually with so many, usually a team with so many picks in one class, it takes them a couple of years to contend. So maybe not this year, but next
I
year for
will
sure.
I will agree with that statement. However, in this class, this is an insanely stacked class. I mean, if it was the 2019 class, the 2020 class, I would agree with you. I would give them a couple of years and they'd easily be contending. With this class, with how top heavy while also having a lot of talent in the middle, it is
Mm.
it is a stacked class. I feel like there's so many names that can contribute right away, and to the point where he can actually potentially be contending.
Yeah,
As like a
rookies
top
do
few
contribute,
team.
but even for
Mhm.
rookies, it's so much like it's not the consistency is not there. The
No.
production is very limited. Like, yeah, 60 yards per game, that gives you like 1,000 yards, right? But 60 yards is not enough
Yeah.
for for a win, for contending so soon. I think he'll be middle of the pack, but it will take another year for him to be really a
Okay.
good team.
Yeah, and for the
Okay.
middle of the pack thing too, I believe there's only 6 teams that make the playoffs, and there's 14 total, so 8 teams don't make it. So you actually have to be an above average team. And I believe
Yeah.
with our team records too, we had like 4 or 5 teams with like above 10 wins. There's some really
Mm.
good teams in this league too. So
Yeah.
if you're looking on YouTube right now, I've highlighted all his picks by just clicking on his name, so you can have more of a visual here. And we never read off the team, so I'm going to go over the noticeable names. Jalen Hurts, Bridgewater, DeAndre Swift, Fournette, Devontae Parker, DJ Chark, Foster Monroe, DJ Moore, obviously, Antonio Brown, Patriots
Yeah.
legend, Joe Flacco. He's elite.
Joe Flacco? Did you really say Joe Flacco? Thank you. As a Ravens fan, I feel good.
Rashad Penny always gets some buzz. Andrew Luck, most added player in sleeper this week.
It's weird.
But I
Yeah.
think the biggest thing this draft will do for him with all those picks, the biggest thing it'll do is help him add a ton more depth. When you look at his starting roster, he has some good names, but you look at the bench and there's maybe 2, maybe 3 guys there that have fantasy value. This draft is going to fix that a ton. It's going to really help, and he'll be really deep. If he isn't going to be contending this year, he will be one of the deeper teams regardless.
Yeah,
No, he'll get 2
Mhm.
QBs, 1 very good RB, running back, and then a bunch of wide receivers. I think he'll be. I mean, his
Mhm.
starting lineup and depth will be set completely,
Right.
yeah.
For the future,
Mhm.
even like
even for the
and,
future.
and
Yeah,
that's not even mentioning next year he has first and for his first and 3 seconds.
Yeah,
Like,
because
he's set.
because he has so many seconds, honestly, my draft remedy, without necessarily talking about like what trades he could make, just to be quick here, would be probably take Justin Fields, your best overall running back at 103. At 105, maybe take the third best running back, or you can creep into wideouts The only reason why I'd argue maybe the running back would be more important here, especially if it's your second overall guy, is because you have this pick and all these picks, right? You have so many picks you can grab wideouts with, and that's where the depth is. There's not much running back depth. And you could also trade these picks too if you like other names that have similar value. Maybe sneak in a quarterback, a tight end. Obviously, tight end's actually a pretty big need. Could this 105 be
Yeah.
Kyle Pitts? You'll have to, obviously listen to the podcast that we,
If I
stay
were him,
tuned.
I would not
Mhm.
draft Kyle
It's-
Pitts at
the thing is-
105. I would rather draft 3 tight ends in the second round, and one of
The
them
thing,
will
the
hit.
thing is, this class is really stacked at receiver, like you said. So you probably most owners wouldn't be looking at that early. But if you get like Jamar Chase sitting there at the 105, staring you down, and you get to pick between Jamar Chase and Javonte Williams,
I'll probably
you better take Chase. I mean, come on.
It depends
Or
where
even
Williams
consider-
goes, man.
Even consider Kyle Pitts. There. Like, it's a tight end premium league. I would take either of those two over Javonte Williams. I mean, sure, Javonte Williams is a talented back, but I mean, he's going to go in the mid-late second round. He's not going to be that guy that's going to come into a team and be their starter right away and get tons of volume. I'd much rather take the safer guy and Jamar Chase there.
Yeah, I definitely agree. If you just want BPA, that's probably your guy. But I don't want to front on it too much because we don't know.
Yeah,
we've already
let's
talked so
move
much
on.
about the draft. So for the fourth team in the fourth draft position is a good friend of mine, Chicho. Really decent team here too. I'm actually gonna go over the roster first because when we get into picks, all we do is just talk about Trevor Lawrence and Najee Harris. All right. So for his team, he has Mahomes, Damian Harris, my guy, J.K. Dobbins, T. Higgins, Jerry Jeudy, Mike Williams, CeeDee Lamb. I love it. Chase Claypool, Trenton loves it. Miles Boykins, Sonatin loves it.
No.
Jonnu Smith, maybe he's a free agent, so he's always been kind of decent but no volume. Will Disley, Sonatin loves it. OJ Howard.
Yep.
Joe Burrow's probably the big name though, who he had on IR, and then he has 2 firsts. He
Those are the
also
104 and our pick at 114.
yeah. So obviously then he has 2 seconds, 2 thirds, and a fourth, and then looking into the future, he has 3 2022 firsts, 3 2022 seconds, a third, and a fourth.
Wow.
So I'm just gonna say with the draft picks to start it off. Both you and Fed Exodus, who was the previous team. I don't know if there's a co-owner for this team too. I'll let us know about that in a second. But I just go BPA. Like with the team like Feds.
This team is insane, man. I love this team. I love this team.
Like with the team of Feds, like he doesn't own as many picks like in 2022, so that's why I was kind of like, oh, you should start competing. You know what I mean? Like you can start competing. You might as well start competing if you like the guy and they're close, right? For this team, you kind of want to wait till 2022 to, it wouldn't hurt to be kind of meh for another year. So just take the best players available.
I think their team is so good. I think they can compete immediately. Like they have 2 very good quarterbacks. They just need the running backs. That's it. That's their only spot that they need.
Yes.
And
if you aren't taking a running back at 104, that's probably like Etienne or Harris. You have to, Chicho.
Yeah. Exactly. Just take a running back at 104 and probably at 112 another quarterback or running back, and later wide receiver and tight end depth. I think he's set. And 2022 he will have another so many picks. It's just crazy how he has built his team. I love it.
I feel like he went after he took Mahomes in the first round, and then after that just set his cue to rookies. I mean, he has so many rookies on this team. Well, all these rookies that you're looking at, they're all pretty good. You got Dobbins, you got T. Higgins, you've got CeeDee Lamb, you got Claypool, you got some of the really good rookies.
Amazing.
So, I mean, that talent is really there. You got some other names too, obviously, that'll help. But the talent is there to really push you forward. I believe you do need to look into getting another QB. That's one of the biggest things I would say to you. Try to get another quarterback. I mean, sure, Joe Burrow will come back, but I mean, in a Superflex league, you always want to have 3 decent to good QBs. So
Yeah, he can get
because
a
if one,
he
if one
can
of
get
them
a
goes
like a declining Philip Rivers or Big
down,
Ben for a third rounder or anything during the
right,
draft. I think he can do that, but I think
right,
his main needs are running back and tight end. If he can
right.
get those
And
running backs and tight end, I think he's set. It's
Yeah.
I
completely
mean,
set.
yeah, I agree with that, but I do think that you should be looking to add a third quarterback because that's the biggest thing in Superflex.
Mhm.
That's what bit your team this year. You had a talented roster. You had a lot of young guys that really performed well and overall did really well. The issue was once Burrow went down, the season was pretty much over.
Yeah. I
So I
mean,
mean, going on, you have the picks and everything to work it out. You have what you need for the future. You have all the youth in the world. But I believe, like you said, you need to get your issues are you need to get a tight end, work on finding another running back, and get that third quarterback. Because your wide receiver room, I'm happy with that. You have Jerry Judy, T. Higgins, Mike Williams, C.D. Lamb. That's a wide
Chase
receiver room that
Claypool.
you could see, and Chase Claypool. That's a receiving room you could see on a lot of championship winning squads this year. Like just those names because I mean those guys performed. I mean, sure, it depends on the running backs and stuff and the quarterbacks, but those are guys that would be starting for championship teams.
Yeah.
And so I'm happy with that receiving room. You don't have to worry about that. Get that tight end, get that running back, get that third quarterback, and you're
Yeah.
good.
Kind of my
Yep.
thoughts on this team as a Patriots fan nugget. First of all, you have Damian Harris, who I actually really like. I think he could be a really good RB3 for you this season. He's looked actually really good for the Patriots. So, and obviously Sony hasn't looked good. So I think that rushing load's his. But you also have, you guys are talking about how they need a quarterback 3. According to Patriots Twitter, Jarrett Stidham should be the starter going into next season. So,
No.
for the love of fucking God, if Bill Belichick be listening to Patriots Twitter, I'm gonna freaking cry. But and fun fact, those two actually used to play football together when they're 5 years old. So these are nugget. But I really like the team. I think if you were to target a running back, maybe one with a little more catch PPR upside could be nice because both these guys probably aren't catching many passes.
Mhm.
So definitely. But I think we can
Come
move on
draft
here.
time, come draft time, you can surely trade away that 104 for a veteran running back easily who can help you immediately. I'm pretty
Mhm.
sure.
Definitely.
Absolutely.
We should probably move on here to the next team though, which
Mhm.
is
Yep.
Bad
Mhm.
Blunt, who has 2 picks, I believe, both third rounders. Does Bad Blunt have a co-owner?
No, he does
Uh,
not.
He
okay.
does not. So I already see some names here that are pretty interesting. Mitch Trubisky, obviously interesting. We'll see what happens with him. I'm not saying he's good, but he's an interesting kind of guy with the value. So definitely Alvin Kamara, superstar, right? Juju, free agency, James Conner. The theme I'm seeing with this team is kind of interesting because you have a few guys who are free agents who could see a value increase. So even though you don't have much picks this year, you can definitely make some improvements just internally, right?
Mhm.
Laviska Chenault's another name. Nelson Aguilar obviously performed well. Darren Waller, really, really good tight end, especially if you were trying to win now. Austin Hooper, kind of disappointing this season. I see you don't have a second quarter. You don't have a
He does.
quarterback.
And Dak Prescott.
Oh, Dak is injured. I'm scrolling down. So, noticeable names: Galladay. That's a really big one. Galladay didn't play at all. Also, another free agent. So, any other names? Devin Duvernay is always a sleeper. Randall Cobb, Zach Ertz, Coleman, Cortland Sutton. So there's some injuries. And obviously you have all your picks going forward except in this draft where you only have 2/3. So I think the improvement for this team is just going to kind of come from obviously just hopefully free agent spots land right for you and then injuries coming back. And I think this team is kind of stuck because I just think there's a lot of stacked teams in this league too. So I think maybe there should be some moves you're making to try and correct it. And we'll see what happens with James Conner because if James Conner's gone, you kind of need a second quarterback and you really need like a second running back, I believe. Those are, unless, I don't know how it happens with Tevin Coleman, but he's been kind of inconsistent. So maybe you consider shipping off a Juju with the hype for another guy. So that's kind of all I have to say about his team, though.
I
Yeah.
do like Darren Waller in this tight end premium league though. Like that's
He hurts too.
like
on a year.
I like that even more so than I do Kamara. I will say, Kamara is a really nice piece, but having like Waller and a tight end premium, that is next level. Like you had Travis Kelce was the number 1 tight end this year, I believe. He led by.
You tweeted about it. You should know this.
It was like 40. It was like 40 or 50 points, or something like that. And then he was 40 or 50 ahead of Waller, who was then like 70 or 80 away from the next best tight end. I mean, Kittle will come back, so he'll also have a role, but Waller is a top 3 dynasty tight end, and that's one of the best things you can have in a tight end premium.
He has Ertz also and Dak Prescott. I think I like his team except for the QB situation and a little bit of running back situation. I think he could sell some of his wide receivers and probably a tight end for QB and running back if he can find those. It's tough to get a QB and running back in Superflex, a 14-team league, but that's how it is. If you can find it, that would be great.
Yeah.
You have the pieces. You just need to. You have the pieces that would be good. You just need. If it were me, I would look to shift those pieces around, make some moves, add different pieces, more pieces, just stuff here and there to fill out the roster more.
Well said. I think this team could see some improvements, but I think you need to make moves in order to be a really serious contender. Just with how stacked the league and how hard it is to make it into the playoffs. I said this earlier, only 6 teams out of the 14 make it into the playoffs. That's a really exclusive honor to have. So, definitely. Moving on to the next team, though, is Link Marine. And I know Link Marine has a co-owner, and I'm pretty sure it's Sand Puppies.
It is.
I remember Sand Puppies in your tree. I mean, you're a guy. So looking at
you're a guy.
looking at picks here, you have 2 firsts. I believe that's the 107 and the 109, and then you have your second, your third, and your fourth. So that's 206, 306, 406 respectively. I know this team has JT. That's probably the sexiest name, other than maybe Justin Herbert and David Montgomery, who I think might be one of my sell highs this season with Tariq Cohen coming back. Wideout, it's looking rough in the starting lineup with Mecole Hardman, Darius Slayton. We had debated about that on the podcast last year, but in Quintez Cephas, Mike Gesicki, Logan Thomas are 2 really interesting younger tight ends. Logan Thomas is actually like 30, so take that for what you want. Cam Newton, I have his jersey back in my room. Drew Lock, Dwayne Haskins, who's jobless, right? Isn't Dwayne Haskins jobless?
Yep. Teamless and mindless. And brainless, whatever you want to say.
Yeah, this team actually has
Everything
Chris Godwin though.
Yeah,
so that
Godwin.
thank God. Right.
Sneaky down there. I had to scroll a little bit.
Paris Campbell.
Yeah,
I like him.
Campbell. We'll have to see about the injury coming back. Preston Williams has always been a name, but he's always injured.
Like Justin Herbert, Jonathan
Drew Lock,
Montgomery,
Drew Lock.
I feel like I have this exact team. I feel like in one of my other leagues, I have almost this exact team.
Wait, are you Sand Puppies? Do you have like another account that's Sand Puppies? Is that why you're sending me those ass trades? I love you, Sand Puppies.
No, but this
no, he's his girlfriend's puppy.
Yeah.
She hates fantasy football. I tried to get her to do it one year, and she had her dad draft for her. So
anyways, for this team, definitely. I mean, honestly, the picks meet the needs of the team, right? I mean, if Kyle Pitts is at one of those picks, I feel like it's going to be really hard to pass up. Even though, obviously, Gesicki's great, I feel like a lot of that's because there's not much, weapons there to compete with. And Logan Thomas is literally like the same case, right? So if Kyle Pitts is here, you take him. Because I think Kyle Pitts could be a superstar. Kind of like how we talked about Hawk and Fant on this podcast, especially Hawk. This podcast loved Hawkinson. We even made a video about him calling the Hawkness Monster. Well, I did, but that's why many of you know me. Regardless of the point, though, obviously, and then wideouts are really stacked too, and you have 2 firsts, and you're going to be in a prime position to take one of the 7-8 guys Trenton has a first round grade on, like maybe like a Chris Olave. I don't want the Smith maybe if they fall, Mhm.
The two positions that he needs the most, and this draft is strong in that. QB
Right.
and wide receivers.
Yeah.
So he'll be fine.
Mhm. And to add on something I said
It's
earlier,
perfectly set up.
yeah, I'd actually
Good.
look in flipping David Montgomery. It's weird because he doesn't have like a high value, but I also feel like he actually really overperformed, especially with Tariq Cohen, who's also on your roster coming back. You might not be able to sell him, but I don't know. I'd think about it. And if there's a running back here for whatever reason, maybe you go, oh, I'd rather have that running back and sell David Montgomery for a wideout who can compete now. So I don't know.
Yep.
You just
Looking at
remember
the team,
to
it's
stay
really
open.
funny.
Yeah.
He has Monty and you
Tariq
said Tariq Cohen, and he also has Jonathan Taylor as his other star running back, and he has Nyheim Hines too. So I mean, he has both of his starting running backs, and he also has the receiving complement.
Yeah, I'd just be open with this team. I don't want to spend too much time on it because I feel like it's just such a tweener team that this team could look really different. And that's a good thing because obviously you didn't make the playoffs, and that's the ultimate goal. So, the quarterback is slightly a need too. You do have some needs, and luckily you have draft picks to fill out those needs. So I believe the team who finished in 7th is a good friend of the podcast who's been on. I remember we were joking that the league was over because he had already won it because he had Lamar Jackson, Christian McCaffrey, and DeAndre Hopkins. Well, look at that.
Missed the playoffs.
And
get fucked. We won. I love you. I say that very jokingly. Obviously for their team though, I mean, they had James Robinson? Or was that somebody else and they traded him? Can someone look that up? Now I'm kind of curious.
Yeah, that was part of the trade. I think I saw it earlier.
Yeah.
For the McCaffrey, part of the McCaffrey trade.
McCaffrey trade, yeah.
I'll get back to you on that, but I want to read the roster and go over the pick situation. So Ryan Tannehill's quarterback, James Robinson, Mostert, unfortunately injured. Corey Davis, who is super sneaky this year, really solid. DeAndre Hopkins, obviously a stud. Todd Gurley, Murray, Metcalf is another really noticeable name too. I remember we got sniped a pick before in Metcalf, which instead we drafted Jalen Reagor, who could have very different players now. Lamar is another really noticeable name. Will Greer, obviously, just the GOAT. Jordan Howard, poor guy.
That's it.
No, Gus Edwards. I think Gus Edwards has some value going in. Trenton loves him personally. Jalen Hurd, another guy Trenton loves. And then obviously there's 2 seconds being owned, a third and a fourth. And those picks are located.
The 202, the 207, 307, and the 407.
Yeah, so the 202 could be a really good player here. Do you have that James Robinson trade up? I kind of want to hear it now and look back on it.
So he gave up CMC. He got Todd Gurley, James Robinson, a 2021 second, which is a 2.02.
And I believe the picks were changed around a little bit because we reverted the 2023 pick that was initially traded. So the picks might not be correct.
Okay. So, but yeah, I mean, kind of you have an idea that, it's Gurley, Robinson, 2021 second, 2021 third, which are 2.02 and 3.02. And then I think there was this 2022 first.
Okay. I got it. Yeah. Honestly, I remember going into this because I was kind of like, oh, this team's depth's kind of bad. Obviously, the team had CMC, Lamar, DK, who wasn't the superstar he is now. I think it had Tannehill too. I believe he drafted Tannehill all by himself, and Tannehill obviously outperformed value. But he actually did kind of good with like Corey Davis. I don't know if he drafted him. Corey Davis ended up. So he actually did a good job of filling out the depth. But yeah, at least in that regard,
I think he has good QBs and wide receivers. He just needs running backs and tight ends.
I think for this team to go over the hump, you need Gus Edwards to land in a good spot like Buffalo. That could really help your team here, as Raheem Mostert is kind of a suspect RB2, just with his health. And then, unless you consider Todd Gurley the RB2, which is fine. So just with those second round picks, I think hitting on one of them could be really good, and I think Gus Edwards and a few health dominoes going your way, you could be in the playoffs. That's kind of it I have to say about the team. Yeah,
I think the reason that the team missed the playoffs in general was overall Lamar Jackson underperforming. If Lamar Jackson had performed even like halfway closer to how he performed last year, this was an easy playoff team.
Yeah.
But
Well,
with
yeah,
that
no.
underperforming level, that's what kind of kicked the team out of the playoffs in the end.
Yeah, Lamar's really interesting too because I feel like his value's kind of low, and he actually blew up in the second, like I believe during the fantasy playoffs. I know because I
Mhm.
had him and Aaron Rodgers in a league, and that was just hell deciding who to start because
I
both
think
are.
Lamar is a great buy right now.
Yeah,
I do
Lamar's.
think.
I do think
Could
because
be.
if they add a wideout, I could see him increasing value like Josh Allen
Yeah.
did. I'm not saying like he's going to be better than Josh. No, I'm saying he can increase in value. So, yeah.
It's funny how we were saying the exact opposite thing last year. Like I don't think Josh Allen could be anything like Lamar Jackson, but
Yeah.
no, I don't think Lamar Jackson could be anything like Josh Allen, but
Anyways, I definitely think Allen always had more potential passing than Lamar, and probably still does. Luckily, Lamar's been really healthy
Absolutely.
throughout his career so far, which is always is a concern when talking
Mhm.
about how much he's worth. So that's good. Anyways, tight end Jared Cook. I think that depends on what's up with Drew Brees, and you don't really have much after him. So I think isn't Jared Cook like a free agent too? I don't know.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, maybe you should target a tight end, especially because it's tight end premium. I hear we have some good tight ends if you want to talk, but yeah, let's move on here. My computer's lagging a little bit. Sorry about this. The next team, I believe, is number 8, and it's Piffy
Team that
Parker.
missed the playoffs by one.
Yeah, how many wins
Yeah,
did this
Piffy
team
Parker.
have?
I believe. I don't know if I can look that up from here.
There should be
I
an
can try.
archive on the phone app if you want to think
Yes.
about it. And
Yeah,
while
I'm
Yeah,
I-
you
looking
can.
at
I
that.
can look it up.
why I read off the team here. So I think talking about picks first here would be important. He just has all his picks. I don't think he made a trade this season, and if he did, it wasn't involving picks. So Philip Rivers at quarterback, Kenyon Drake, Austin Eckler's a running back duo. Trenton loves that. T.Y. Hilton, wow, Trenton really loves his team because that's Jack Doyle too. Justin Jefferson, Deontay Johnson, Mike Evans, really good wideouts. Chris Carson, free agent. We'll see what happens with him. But if he in Seattle again and they don't add anybody, he'll be good based on volume. Kyler Murray's obviously probably the
Yeah.
star of this team, though. Safe to say.
They were 8-5, 8-5, just one win
Yeah,
away
Yeah.
from playoffs.
that's awful. You do have some interesting names too here on your bench, like James White. We'll see if he can kind of
Mhm.
give you value. I think that depends on what quarterback goes to New England. Excuse me. Because they used to love targeting James White. I think probably more sexy names would be guys like Hunter Henry, obviously, and then AJ Green. He's a free agent too, although he really fell off. And then you have all your picks, right? That's the team. So I think you were really close, and if the marbles fall the right way, this team could make the playoffs. The wide receiver core is awesome. Justin Jefferson's
Yeah,
going to be a
amazing.
freaking stud.
Mhm.
Eckler, Carson, and Drake really aren't like sexy names to most of us, but I feel like they're people who, if they retain their current situations, are gonna get you good points. You know what I mean? Like they'll never have that sexy value, except maybe Eckler, but they're gonna get you points.
Absolutely.
So I obviously the quarterback, you probably want a better QB2 other than Rivers. Maybe that's where you go with pick 108. I feel like that 108 to like 110 range, there's always normally like a stud each year, right, when we draft, right? I believe last season it was probably Justin Jefferson, and then Kareem Hunt looking back is another one I remember being in that range, and he exceeded value. So you're in a good spot to get maybe that guy ends up really blowing up.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. This team is going to be a team that's going to be carried by the receiving room and Kyler Murray. You have like you said, you have the running backs that will put up points for you. They're not going to put up big points, but they will consistently give you the points you need to win. But it's Justin Jefferson, it's Mike Evans, Deontay Johnson. It's those three guys that are going to be the ones that win you games with Kyler Murray. But overall, like you said, I'd look for another quarterback. Definitely want to look for one, especially considering that Rivers might be retiring at the end of the year. But you want to look for another quarterback, and tight end's another position you want to look into for sure. Well, Hunter Henry, I guess, is there. Didn't even see him down there. You should be fine then with that. But still, on a tight end premium, you might even consider another. Anyway.
It's a deep tight end class. I don't think it hurts to have another. And Hunter Henry doesn't have that, appeal of a top 5 tight end
No.
week. Like he doesn't blow up in any given week. He'll
It-
not win you a week.
Absolutely.
It's just
by
kind of
himself.
meh from him each week, you know?
Yeah.
Like, he's not going to, like,
Mhm.
underperform that much. But he won't overperform. So, anyways, I think the questions you need to ask yourself is, I should probably take the BPA. Who's the BPA? 108. And then guys like Drake and Chris Carson, who are both free agents, I believe. Do I sell one of them before their situation maybe changes? I think those are questions I feel like you guys can agree with me here. If you do,
Yeah, I think
those are the
I
questions
agree
you need
with
to
you.
answer.
I agree with you. This team is the perfect BPA kind of team. Like they have all the positions covered, and average.
Mhm.
I mean, one position is very strong, wide receiver. Others they can go anywhere. They find the best value. This is
Yeah.
the best BPA team.
If you do make the playoffs, though, I feel like Jeff Wilson always goes off at the end of every year because all the Niners running backs get
Yeah.
injured too. So I know you're Niners fans, so I want to give you guys some love there. Moving on here to draft position 9. Where are you? Am I blind? Oh, friend of the friend of one of my greatest fantasy friends, Nick. Hope you're doing well. Thanks for listening so far. As for draft picks for Nick, I mean, he's rocking with the draft picks this year. 2021 4th round pick. That's it.
That's it.
409.
And then 2022, he doesn't have his first or third. He has a second and fourth. And then 2023 picks. Everybody has all their own 2023 picks. There's no trading those in this league as of now. That will come after the rookie draft. So as for the team, though, I remember this team was one of the favorites going in, right? And I believe this is the first team in the playoffs, correct?
Yes.
Yes. This is the team that finished last in the playoffs. Oh, Nick. Oh, I think the story of the season is once Saquon went down in week 2, and then there were injuries like OBJ falling up that the team just slowly
Yeah.
fell apart.
Yep.
It's a decent roster though. I mean, you have Jared Goff. I just scrolled by. I believe Tua. Matt Stafford's another
Yep.
guy who could be interesting. Nick Foles, not really.
Alex Smith.
Yeah, Alex Smith. Josh Rosen.
Quite a few
Nah.
starters. Yeah. QB
Yeah.
starters. Nothing sexy names, but complimentary starters everywhere.
I like the wideouts though. These guys aren't sexy except
Yeah,
Keenan
love the
Allen.
wideouts,
Keenan
yeah.
Allen's my most owned fantasy player, so I love that guy. And obviously he
McLaurin.
outperformed. He was such a steal. Good pick. McLaurin, another guy who's probably a top 12. Robert Woods, always
Yeah.
going to be underrated. Irv Smith. I remember
Tyler Boyd.
Yeah, Tyler Boyd and Christian Kirk are interesting too.
Debo Samuel.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Really
you got a
decent
really
team.
good room at wide receiver.
Yeah, running
Miles
backs.
It's
Gaskin.
a decent team. I will say that it kind of overperformed this season.
Well, no,
I
it
think-
didn't.
I think
It underperformed.
This was a team that it overperformed with Nick really carried this team through moves and additions in and out of the season, moving stuff around. He's the one that carried them to the playoffs because once Saquon went down and OBJ was out, this team was like left for dead pretty much, and he single-handedly brought this team to the playoffs. So I believe with as talented of a owner as Nick was to bring this team to the
Oh
playoffs,
my god.
once he gets Saquon back and OBJ back, this team should be really nice. The biggest issue with the
He
team
still needs
is
running
the
backs.
Yeah.
the pick situation, and with not having any picks, you're really going to be tough to find a running back. You might trade one of those receivers. You have some really talented receivers,
Yeah.
but the issue is at running back for sure.
Yeah.
Everything else is solid. You get Saquon back, that's great. But other than that, you need another running back, maybe even a third running back. I mean, depends on how you feel about Gaskin, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. I need one of you to pull up. There's a trade for Irv Smith because we originally owned him, and I wanted to look back on a year later because it's with us, and I think it's a really interesting trade.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you want to
We
look
traded.
Yeah.
We traded.
I'll tell you. We traded Nick Foles and Irv Smith. We got Will Disley, Alan Lazard, and Jordan Love.
Yeah, I mean, Irv Smith was probably the best player out of all of those, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, I think that's interesting. I still think tight end's sort of a weakness. Irv Smith hasn't really blown up like I think people want him to. I wonder if you think about shipping off Keenan Allen or Terry McLaurin, because I feel like those are two teams who are interesting, because I feel like they could add more weapons there, which would obviously probably hurt their massive target shares. McLaurin, I think it's kind of obvious. The football team has a lot of cap space. They really wanted Amari Cooper last offseason. Didn't get him. Some really nice guys like Allen Robinson, Juju. We'll have to see with tags. Kenny Galladay's another one. And then Keenan Allen too. We talk about how stacked the wide receiver class is. My hot take is I wonder if Jamar Chase or Devonta Smith end up in, LA with Justin Herbert if they decide to let Mike Williams walk and save some cap. So I don't know.
Keenan
Does not
Allen is
matter.
the one I would
Keenan
look.
Allen will, yeah,
Yeah, I'm
he will
more
get
worried
on the
about
target.
McLaurin than Allen, but I also think selling Allen has more value into
I
it.
think
Mhm.
Allen has more value, and he's also going to be 29 by the time the season starts. So I mean, he's getting to that point where, I mean, sure, you have guys like Julio who performed past that. You have some other names here and there, but that's usually kind of where receivers start to kind of slow down a little bit. I mean, you have the outliers, but I feel like Keenan Allen's right on that edge, and he might be an outlier as well, or he might start to drop off a little bit. So I mean, that's a guy you want to look for. You might want to move him with his value as high as it is, and see what you can get.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's going to take some good moves to push this team over the hump, but I wouldn't trust many other owners more. And definitely. So I think moving on to Team Canada here, Big Johnson and who else?
That would be Blue Cloud.
They have all their picks in 2021, and I will look at 2022 before we start talking about the team. And I think they have all their picks, so they just have all their picks.
They do.
Yeah.
No,
I doubt they made any trades.
Yeah, I don't know. They do have my guy J.D. McKissick though, and Trenton's guy and Son's guy Henry Ruggs. So those are some interesting names. Cole Beasley also destroyed me in the League One league, so good for that. Dallas Goedert's a really cool name at tight end. Yeah, no, there's a reason why I'm doing this. So Goddard's interesting because I feel like his value can blow up too. Derek Carr's another name. Daniel Jones. Joe Mixon is obviously injured. Gibson as we go down here. Denzel Mims, Crowder, right? Mo Alley Cox. And he also has some interesting names, though. I feel like the three kind of main players of the team is just kind of the running back depth, right? You have Kareem Hunt, Aaron Jones, who also on running back, and then you have Russell Wilson. So my advice is sell one of these running backs for a wide receiver, because J.D. McKissick probably isn't, going to be blowing up as much next season. Maybe he could, but I feel like J.D. McKissick probably helped you push you to where you are in the playoffs, because Ruggs hasn't been good for fantasy.
Running backs, man. He can easily get a top wide out for a running back. People, there are so many running back needy teams. We are running back needy. Come to us.
Yeah, definitely. So what running back would you sell then? We have Aaron Jones, Kareem Hunt, Joe Mixon, and Antonio Gibson. Which one?
Kareem Hunt.
So you'd sell the probably the least value one.
Okay. Either Hunt or Mixon.
I'd say Hunt.
Mixon's value is very low. I would not sell him.
Mixon's value is low. Yes, I will agree. Mixon's value is low. However, his value has gotten lower and lower each season. I mean, are we really that confident it's going to go up?
Because there will be some production. This year his value was low because of injury, not because of production necessarily. So next year, if you are talking about luck, you could be very unlucky. He will get injured again next year. But no one, counts injuries. He has not been like an injury-prone guy. So if you don't count injuries, I think his value should go up.
Yeah.
Next year.
Yeah, the good thing with this team though is that it's such a good wideout draft, and obviously you have a pick right in that 110 range where normally there's a lot of I think that was like the Justin Jefferson ADP, the Kareem Hunt ADP. So you're in a spot where, like, just look at the ADP. Apparently that's like the spot. I read an article about that. But obviously my point is, around this tier, you could maybe grab a player that pushes you up to the first place. So I think an interesting sell though would be Aaron Jones. I think it depends on how much you like AJ Dillon.
Yeah.
Because I know they're strapped on cap, and AJ Dillon AJ Dillon actually looked pretty solid. He was my RB7, a little bit of a homer pick. I didn't love AJ Dillon, but I think just because of cap.
Don't sell Aaron Jones pick. I don't think Aaron Jones production will go down necessarily, but I think his value is higher, so I would sell him.
Okay, I see what you mean.
That's the only reason.
Sure.
I think Aaron Jones, if he goes somewhere else, his touches will increase. So ultimately, his production might be the same,
Yeah,
whatever it is. So
interesting. Like
that's
Miami maybe would be a great spot for him.
yeah, yeah. I
Mm.
mean, people say that, oh, if he goes away from Packers, it will be worse. No, it will not be. Packers don't give him the touches at all. Like, how many touches does he get? He
The-
is very
mm.
efficient with Packers. Maybe he'll not be efficient, but then he'll get more touches. So ultimately, for fantasy, he'll be the same and more catches too.
Yeah, the Lamar Miller complex. So, anyways,
Yeah,
you need to decide what running back to trade. And then obviously just go BPA. I think
yeah.
that's it. And then quarterback is kind of sus. I think Daniel Jones will be back another season, fortunately. With the
Mm.
NFC East, that's a really fun division. I think does every team have a shot to make the playoffs in that division other than the Eagles?
Yes,
Wow, that's
every team.
crazy.
There
Including
is
the
some
Eagles
way or the
or
other. No, no, no Eagles.
no Eagles? Yeah.
Only the other three.
It's hilarious. The Giants could end up with the third pick, depending on what happens. They could end up with either the third pick or be in the playoffs.
Yeah, they probably want to lose realistically because I don't think they're getting that far. They'll probably run
Yeah.
into the Seahawks or whatever. I don't know the Seahawks. They gave them a run for their money. Daniel Jones
Yeah.
can do it. Danny Dimes. Anyways, that's all I have to say about this team. A side
Yeah.
tangent about the NFC East.
Let's
Um,
see.
the next team. Oh, I love the profile pictures. That Fitz Magic, Crump K2, who this team
Our
used to be
newest
owned
owner.
by Westrons. And I remember calling Ronald Jones not worth that much time. I was obviously sort of wrong about that, but was he there in the fantasy playoffs when you needed him? Didn't think
Nope.
so. So Ronald Jones is an interesting case, but looking at this team, it kind of has no future picks. It has the 214, the 311, and the 411 in this year. I haven't been able to see the other picks it has, but I'll look at
Yeah.
those first. Yeah, what do we got?
2022 again. He doesn't have first or second rounder.
Okay.
Only third and fourth.
As for the team, I'll fire through it. Miles Sanders, Ronald Jones, Kirk Cousins. At quarterback, Tom Brady, another guy. I hear he's the GOAT. Minshew.
Yeah.
I wish I sold more Minshew quickly. I'm an idiot. But anyways, wide receiver looked kind of decent. Tyreek Hill, Robbie Anderson, Cooper Kupp.
Yeah.
MVS, Will Fuller's a name that could blow up.
Fuller. Yeah.
Devin Singletary, can you trust them? You have Gronk at tight end. David Johnson's a name. Yeah, you did sell David Johnson. This was the team, right? That acquired David
Yeah.
Johnson from us. I don't know what happened to that first because they don't have it anymore. Oh, they sold it to Fed. No, they sold it to
No, hold
Chicho.
on.
Yeah, go find out where that first went. While I read the rest of the team off. Mark Ingram fell off a cliff. Travis.
Chicho. That's first went to
Yeah,
Chicho.
it was.
Yeah, what did
went
he
to
get
it.
in return? Sorry, let me read off the rest of the team though. Hayden Hurst, actually an interesting tight end name. Perriman. I don't know, maybe with Justin Fields, you really like him. Fulgham, I remember. Trenton loved him and he disappeared. And I think that shocked all of us. But anyways, what was the trade? What do we got? We can't find it yet. No problem. I'll stall
It'll take a minute.
with my analysis. It's a good team. That's solid. I think the running backs are interesting because I don't know if Ronald Jones can repeat. I think Will Fuller could be a guy who takes that next step, depending on where he goes and kind of, at least like respective to his value, right? Will Fuller's always been talented, and I feel like his value is going to be higher because I believe he didn't get injured; he got suspended. So people are going to kind of forget how injury prone he is. So you know David Johnson. Yeah,
I can't find what happened.
You can't find it. It's okay.
Yeah.
Well, let's just talk about the team then. How do we make this team the winner next season? What do we have to do?
Oh, it's tough, man.
Yeah.
They don't have the picks.
I feel like
and
they
have-
overperformed.
Yeah, they have quite a few holes. Like quarterback, yeah, Tom Brady,
Mhm.
Kirk Cousins, a lot of suspect there. And wide receiver is fine. Running back is also suspect. Tight end is a suspect. So yeah, I'm not a big fan.
The wide receiver room is really, really good.
Very good.
It's like
Very
one of the best in the league easily. The issue lies Miles Sanders fine. Ronald Jones overperformed. He might continue. I don't know. That's the big question. The issues are quarterback. You need to get another quarterback, and find that tight end. That's where your issues lie. The depth is also an issue. You need to find some more depth. I don't see. Looking at the names on the bench, there isn't too much there, honestly.
Yeah,
there's a few good names here and there, but you just maybe trade some players, some big name players away, and acquire extra assets here and there. Other than that, this team is one of those teams that right now feels like every year it's going to just be a fringe playoff team.
Yeah, I think that's like the worst spot in fantasy football. I saw something on Twitter where it's like the best team is like competing and rebuilding at the same time. I'm like, no, that's like the worst spot to be in, unless obviously you're in first place and then you have like everybody's draft picks. But is that realistic? No, right? So I think
it is realistic for me.
I think especially because this isn't your team, you should really think about selling some of these players to teams with picks. Like I believe it was Chicho and FedExodus with most of the picks there, Nathan. So I don't know. I mean, it's not your team, so I think this team's going to be really stuck for a while, and it's going to take some really savvy moves and a lot of buy low target to pan out to fix it, get it over the hump. So
let's move on.
Yeah, let's move on. So the team that finished in third is Tyler Bell. This team had maybe league MVP Aaron Rodgers, Ezekiel Elliott, Darrell Henderson, Brandon Cooks, Adams. So the Adams at Rodgers stack, really nice. Sterling Shepard, Mark Andrews, Darnell Mooney, Eric Ebron, Roethlisberger, Taysom Hill. Anything else noticeable? Julio, that's a big one. That's maybe why you weren't in the finals. I felt that in a few leagues too. I have a lot of Julio as well. Edelman, maybe he'll be better next season when he's not injured. And then obviously all you have is 2023 picks. You have no picks in the future. So this team has to win a championship or you're screwed. And I actually don't know if it's enough.
Yeah, I mean, things have to fall into place. They do have top heavy, like some of the superstars in here. Except for like running back is a suspect. That's the only place I can see, and tight end too. But it can go to playoffs if all the stars align.
Yeah.
I feel like this is a good team.
Yeah.
I feel like they're definitely one of those. They're definitely right where they need to be in the rankings in the season. They're a top 3 team in the league, like based off of talent and all around. The issue is the future is in question with those picks. You need to be contending, like you said.
And they are contending.
I mean, yeah, absolutely. So you need to be contending for the next few years.
Yeah.
But the team is well set up to do so.
Yeah.
So I mean, I feel like you're in a good spot. Like as Dylan was saying, you don't want to be one of those fringe playoff teams. You don't want to be contending and rebuilding unless you're number 1 and have all the picks. But this is one of those teams that is definitely contending, doesn't need to rebuild at the moment.
Yeah, I'm sort of afraid of this team slightly under and overperforming. It's kind of weird because obviously there are players that were affected by injury, but I don't think Aaron Rodgers next season, I think it'll be interesting to see what happens with him, because if he does win the MVP, we've seen previous MVPs like Mahomes fall off the next season relative to how he performed the season before, obviously. And partially that was because of injury. And then Lamar obviously took a dip. No, they were fine, but obviously I think Davante Adams was on pace for one of the most efficient wide receiver seasons of all time in points per game. So crazy how good he was. So obviously dropped a lot of 40 burgers. I think there's 3 of them. A lot of 30 burgers.
In all my leagues, the person with Davante Adams won the league, except for this.
Wow. I mean, that's the Snot and Dylan Trenton difference right there. I need to look to see if that's mine. I don't actually think mine's like that. Anyways, I have Adams in one league. Great player to have.
All my leagues, the guy who had Adams also had Kamara. So it was just a weird stack.
Oh, that would do it, huh?
Yeah.
That is a championship winner for sure.
Yeah, I had Mike Evans and Kamara in a league too. So, Kamara, I mean, wow. What a guy. Anyways, Davante Adams, I'd actually float now. It's weird because you have the stack in your win now, but just the efficiency he was on. Is he like the dynasty wide receiver 1 right now. He could be for some
Yep.
people. So, like Hassan's one of them. I think Trenton would lean elsewhere. Would be my guess. Would be like a DK Metcalf would be yours, and I don't have mine on my top of my head. So I don't know. Maybe it's time to sell Adams because I don't think he'll continue that efficiency. Hopefully they'll draft another wideout for him and Jordan Love, who will eventually
If
take
you are
over.
win now, I would not sell Adams if Rogers is there. Rogers will
Mm.
feed him.
I think it
again.
depends on the offer, but it's hard to break up that stack. So
Yeah. But he needs
Mhm.
running backs. I mean, I think he should look to get those running backs,
Mhm.
like even who are hit or miss running backs, because if they hit, then he will be set. So
Yeah.
I think
Mhm.
only running backs and some again hit or miss tight ends too, like a Gesicki or someone else.
Yeah.
If he gets
Mhm.
those, he'll be fine.
And I do think a guy like Will Fuller leaving could be good for Brandon Cooks because Brandon Cooks has really
Yeah.
low value, but he normally gets 1,000 yards if healthy. So he could be kind of that sleeper name. So I want to move on here to the second place team,
Mhm.
Wu Tang Forever.
Yeah.
Friend of mine on Twitter. He took over this team. He didn't draft it at all, but the only 2021 picks they have is 413 and then 301. So 301 could be something of note. And then obviously 2022, looking into it, they'd actually have their first and their fourth. So as for the players, Drew Brees, Dalvin Cook, Derrick Henry. That Cook Henry stack probably is the reason why you're here. Allen Robinson, really, really super solid. I forget where he finished on this season, but I felt like he had a really solid year again. Lockett and Cooper were probably a little inconsistent, but Cooper was pretty impressive, especially after what
Kelce.
happened. Kelsey is probably the star of the team, though.
Titan Premium Kelsey is just monster.
Yeah, I'm surprised we beat Kelsey in the tight end premium league. Maybe
Yeah.
one of the best tight end premium seasons of all time for a tight end. Tunyon,
Yeah,
also
definitely.
interesting. Bell,
Mhm.
Gage, Allen. Yeah, I don't know for Kelsey if that was or if Gronk had it or maybe another
No,
guy.
Kelsey, definitely Kelsey.
But
This was the
You know what?
best.
You know what's crazy?
yeah, Gronk had a nutty
Travis
season, but
Kelce
yeah,
has been the PPR
Jimmy
tight
Graham.
end one for the past 5 seasons.
Yeah, I don't know. He's always been a value in Dynasty.
He's
I
the
want to leave
number
with him.
one
Mhm.
always, every year. It's crazy.
Yeah,
It's crazy,
Even
man.
last
And
year,
every year,
Kittle came
people
close, but he was like, "No, I'm number one."
people want to sell him. Like, oh, this is the year Kelsey will go down.
Yeah.
No,
It's funny
doesn't happen.
because I draft him in redraft, and I never in my redraft not like I won with him with Dynasty this season. Only my redraft leagues. Whenever I have Kelsey on my team, I actually don't win, which is so funny considering how just elite he is. But
Yeah, it's amazing.
looking at the bench here,
Absolutely.
any noticeable names? No,
This
honest.
guy,
Tony
Smith,
Pollard is
Gabriel-
interesting.
Ito Smith, Jeremy McNichols is interesting because he
No.
is the
Mhm.
backup right now to Henry.
Gabriel
That's a good
Davis.
handcuff.
Gabriel Davis,
Ito
that's a big
Smith.
one.
Ito
Mhm.
Smith is interesting.
John
No,
Brown.
McNichols is not the
Yeah.
handcuff. Darrington Evans is the handcuff. McNichols just came because he was injured.
Okay.
Yeah.
Joshua Kelly,
I just
Tony
feel like I saw a
Pollard.
lot more of McNichols.
John Brown, Devin Funches.
yeah, John
That's kind of a
Brown.
joke, but yeah, John Brown's in. Anyways, for this team, just getting into the analysis, I feel like I overperformed slightly, but I still feel like other
I
guys
love
like
this team.
Lockett and Cooper could bounce back. Yeah, and Robinson, we'll see. I think Chicago's actually a pretty decent spot for him. We'll have to see what happens if he gets tagged or not.
Oh, he doesn't have a QB. That's the
I
problem.
feel
Yeah.
like that is the clear weak. This is the only team in the league that has a very, very clear weakness, and that's
Yeah.
a quarterback.
Yeah.
Every other position,
It's an amazing team. He's a very
he
good
has
team.
solid stuff everywhere else. It's at quarterback is the only issue, and that's
Yeah.
I believe that's probably the reason. Like he lost to us in the finals. We had
Yeah.
Matt Ryan and
Josh
Josh Allen.
Allen.
He had
Yeah.
2 quarterbacks. He had Drew Brees.
But every other position, he has like a difference maker. That people who can win him the week, like Dalvin
Right.
Cook, Derrick Henry, 2 amazing running backs.
Mhm.
Tyler
Kelsey.
You
Lockett.
have everything else that
Yeah.
you need. Everything else. You just
Mhm.
if
Amari
you can have
Cooper.
a quarterback without giving away too
Amazing.
much.
Yeah, you're kind of
team wins
overrating him.
easily.
Yeah, Lockett really finished the season really quiet too. This is a classic Tyler thing. I feel like he's kind of inconsistent. But if Lockett, if he had those,
2 really big games a season, and then the rest of them are kind of like.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
where I agree with you. That's why I think Lockett's
he's
an interesting
still
style.
good.
Yeah, Lockett was solid, of course, but anyways, I don't know. Yeah, definitely try to sell a wide receiver for. There's definitely some teams in this league that I feel like really undersell quarterbacks. Like we got Josh Allen for cheap. We'll get into our team in a bit. But
Mm.
you know what I mean? Like there's actually a market where quarterbacks are pretty easy to acquire, like a Philip Rivers. You might be able to get him for your 301.
Yeah, yeah.
So, and then that fixes that hole. So, or maybe Cam Newton goes, you know what I mean? Just,
Mm.
consider it. That's all I have to say about this team. How about you guys?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
I think in a 14-team super flex league, if you are weak on quarterbacks, sometimes you have to just take some dart throws, with a very, very late pick. If it works, it works. If not, hard luck.
Yeah.
That's the best you can do. Otherwise, it's very tough to have to get quarterbacks in a super flex league. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's just tough luck.
As for our team, I don't know how long I want to spend on it, but I have some interesting thoughts about why our team won, in my opinion. We actually have the 110 and the 310 this season. As for 2021 picks, I believe we just have all our own picks going in the future. Oh, we also have a
Except
fourth.
for this, we're missing our second in 2022.
Oh,
Yeah.
good point. We're missing our second. We do also have a fourth in 2021 too. We have the last pick. We have the what is it called, Mr. Irrelevant or whatever?
Irrelevant. Yeah.
Yeah. As for our team that won the championship, you're probably really curious. It had Matt Ryan, Cam Akers, Josh Jacobs, Giovanni Bernard, AJ Brown, Adam Thielen, Hollywood Brown, that's Marquise, TJ Hawkinson, George Kittle, Stephon Diggs, Jacoby Myers, Josh Allen, Jordan Love, Carson Wentz, Sony Michel, Alexander Madison, Dante Pettis, KJ Hamler, Chris Herndon, Jimmy Graham was really big for us for some weeks too, and then Mullins, I guess, whatever. And then obviously we don't have our own first, but we have Tyler Bells, which is a few picks higher. I think this team won. I'm gonna kind of give myself a pat on the back because I normally am really bad late in the draft, but we got guys like Jacoby Myers and Giovanni Bernard, who I think we drafted in like the 18th or 19th round of a 14-team league, and they literally helped us like fill out a roster and win weeks. So I think really that's one element of why we did really well too. And obviously it wasn't just me drafting, it was everybody here, and everybody deserves a round of applause too. But I think those late round hits can really, really, really bump up value. But I also think this team trading down really helped, considering we drafted AJ Brown, who's a stud, really late.
This
yeah,
team was
I think
carried-
Diggs too.
I think looking at the format of this league, I think our strength is the strength of the format. For example, this league is a super flex Titan premium. We have 3 quarterbacks. One of them who is a superstar, Josh Allen. And then it's a Titan premium league where we have George Kittle and TJ Hawkinson. Monsters, absolute monsters. We also had Irv Smith, which we sold. So we went for positions which really shine in this kind of format, and that was a difference maker. We have gone through so many teams. You can see that so many of them have weakness at quarterback and tight end. You have like 4 or 5 good tight ends in in the whole fantasy land, and we have 2 of those, so it makes a huge difference.
Yeah.
And at one point this season, we were just a decent team. We weren't. I wouldn't say we were really, really a great team. We were decent. What put us over the edge was adding Josh Allen and that stack with Stephon Diggs later in the season. That they blew up together and really helped carry us all the way through the rest of the season.
Yeah.
Didn't help. I mean, Kittle was out for the majority of the time, so that was kind of just helps us win championship week. However, having, like you said, having Hawkinson there, who I believe Hawkinson finished as the tight end 3. So I mean, like even though we lost George Kittle, who we were expecting to be a top 2 tight end, we still finished with a tight end 3.
Yep.
Yeah, I think it's a great point. I think it's the depth of this team that won it. Honestly, thinking about it,
Absolutely.
When Carson Wentz got benched, we had Matt Ryan, obviously, who could just plug in and be that starter, and we made that trade for Josh Allen too. I think guys like Giovanni Bernard ended up being really big for our team, considering Cam Akers really started off really poorly and then got injured again. I think he got injured 2 times during the season. So obviously that was really big too. So I think it's just like our team doesn't have a weakness, and our team still has draft picks moving forward.
Yeah, our team has like a running back weakness, but again, I mean, that's where we lucked out with Mixon's injury, and we had
Yeah.
Bernard
And
or things
Mhm.
like that. But the lesson learned is that always pay attention to the format and play to the
Right.
strengths of the format. The format is super flex. Always go for 3 quarterbacks. You never know. For example, we're very high on Wentz, and that guy suddenly disappeared. People would be very high on Prescott, Dak Prescott. He was not there. So you never know what can happen. Have good stable
Just
of
wait until
quarterbacks.
Wentz is on the Colts next year.
Yeah,
We
I
have
mean he will
3
again
elite
be.
quarterbacks.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
But I'm saying that don't be satisfied with 1 or 2
Right.
quarterbacks. Have a
Exactly.
third one. If it's tight end premium, those flex positions.
Yeah.
In the flex positions,
Mhm.
always start a
Mhm.
tight end over a wide receiver.
And
Preferably
make
running back or tight end. Wide receiver should be a no for the flex
don't be
positions.
afraid to make moves.
Yeah,
Like I said,
Yeah.
the
Mhm.
trade for Josh Allen is what effectively won us this league.
yeah.
To be fair,
We went for it. We went out and we got what we
Mhm.
wanted, and we set.
Yeah. And to be clear, for our first place team, I believe we finished only with 1 loss, or did we have 2 losses? I can't remember.
We
I
had
can
what?
double
Let me
check that.
We were the number 1
We
record. I want to look it up because people might be curious about that too.
We
3 losses.
finished 10-3.
Yeah, Trent's talking about our team struggling. We're 10-3, so our team wasn't struggling that much. But I definitely
I
think
mean, early on, I believe we had like 2 losses within our first 6, and then once we got Josh
4 and
Allen,
2.
we only
So
lost
there were
once
3
after that.
teams that finished 10-3. So
Yeah.
yeah, we were
Mhm.
okay. I mean,
Yeah.
we got more points later because of Josh Allen, or we could be easily the 3rd seed.
That's
We could
true.
easily be the 6th seed. I mean,
Yeah,
Yeah.
you look at every team that made the playoffs had 9 or more wins.
yeah.
And that's when we talk
So
about
one win
these.
here and
Mhm.
there can change stuff.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and that's when I talk about some of these teams with draft picks. I'm like, it's such a stacked league. Like everyone seems to have a really decent roster. Even if some teams overperformed, it's like, who says they can't overperform again?
Yeah.
So I think that's what makes it tough. It's just how limited the playoffs are. But we were the most in points for, I believe, too. I remember that pretty
Yeah.
confidently.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
hey, one of my first wins as a 1 seed. I had 2 of them this season. Never had one before. So not unsimilar. Never had one before, I believe. And Trent
I had
probably,
never won before
We-
this year too.
yeah, as a 1 seed. I don't know about Trent.
We were
but
the most in points for, and we almost tripled the next most messages in the league.
Yeah.
We sent a lot of messages
Yeah.
in the league chat.
Which makes sense. We should be. I mean, we are
yeah.
here to
Mhm.
entertain everyone. This is our
Yeah.
fan league. We want to make sure
Oh, no,
everyone is
never
very
mind.
comfortable.
Never mind.
And
I forgot Fed. Fed was somewhat close.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, anyways, thank you guys for listening. I feel like we don't have anything
Absolutely.
important to say. Maybe we'll
Mm.
recraft our rookie draft. Maybe we could draft live, or I don't know. We could do something really fun. So,
Mhm.
I think it depends, but definitely subscribe. Keep in mind, we don't know when we're gonna be back. I want to be back, especially because I'm going back to college, nothing to do. But it depends on everybody. So I just don't want to give
Absolutely.
any listeners or viewers like
Yeah.
the promise that we'll be back. But when we're back,
Yeah,
we're
we'll
gonna be
definitely
back.
be back. Yeah, right
Yeah.
now just enjoy the playoffs, and we'll definitely be back when the rookie things starts heating up. We'll also have an episode where we'll definitely talk about what are our trade targets, what players we are looking to sell, looking to buy, and we will do that much earlier, much before the NFL draft or even the combine. So yeah, end of January, early February, we should be back with a bang.
Yeah.
And we
no.
know you guys
Mhm.
want us back. All 5 of our fans, we know you want us back. So we'll be there for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
We-
even if we are making podcast episodes, because we're pretty casual with it, which is kind of one of our weaknesses as a show, but just message us on Twitter. All 3 of these guys are pretty active. Oh, I don't know. I
Yeah.
said that in like third person. Well, all of us are pretty active on Twitter, even though I only tweet about basketball these days. Like, I'll answer some fantasy football questions. I have no problem with it.
I have
You
a
know,
couple of
You
Yeah.
tweet
Mhm.
us and we will respond very, very quickly.
that includes teams
Yes.
we talked about. Like, if you're one of the teams that we talked about and you want some genuine, honest advice, we will give it to you about just maybe
Tag us,
targets. Yeah. Mhm.
DM us, always open. We love interactions.
Message on Sleeper.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
thank you guys so much. I hope you're staying safe.
Thank you
Obviously,
for a
with
great
COVID.
year.
Thank you for a great year.
Yeah.
Now,
Happy
2021,
New Year.
we're gonna win you some leagues. Happy New Year,
Yeah.
guys.
Let's go.
Bye.